They had a really strong record at home. They had Platini, Boschis, Larios, Rocheteau. You know, the French the French players at that time were building up to their first European trophy win in '84. You know, the French team were particularly strong at that time, and St Etienne were, you know, a regional side, were really in the top of their form. So we went there. We weren't expecting a win by that margin by any stretch of the imagination, and they went ahead early on. It was a real heavy pitch, you know, quite muddy, and I think Johnny Rep said afterwards it was more like an English pitch that favoured the English style, forgetting, of course, that we were playing with Tyson and Muir and his compatriots in midfield anyway, you know. And so, but I think the players were really up for it, you know. There's all the stories about in the tunnel, you know, Butcher and Mariner in particular being, you know, really up for it, banging on the wall and, you know, creating a hostile atmosphere for the French. And then, you know, Mariner got a great goal, Wall got a good goal. You know, it was just a real classy performance. It was one of the best performances I've ever seen from an Ipswich side in really quite tough conditions, but we just totally dominated them, really.
Quite a lot of drink involved on the day, as you can imagine. And oh yeah, well, after going a goal down really early on, thought this wasn't going to be a very good day. And the pitch was absolutely atrocious. This day and age, it probably would never have been played. And then obviously we gradually got into the game and, well, just tore them apart, really. Could have actually won by a damn sight more than that.
Another, you know, brilliant atmosphere in Cologne. You know, the Ipswich, there was quite a lot of Ipswich fans there, but they were supplemented by the army on the Rhine. So there was a lot of squaddies, you know, from all over the country supporting Ipswich that night. But great atmosphere, and, you know, and a great goal. I can remember Robson doing a dance on the running track along the side of the pitch, you know, because him and Ferguson were sat down on the side, but they were on a couple of chairs, quite isolated from the crowd, as it were, but, you know, just sitting out in the open. But yeah, that was one hell of a performance again.
It was a weird experience before the game, because when they let us into the bars, every bar we went into, the police would come along and kick out all the Germans and let us have the bar to ourselves. But typical English people, we don't stay in one bar, so we'd have a drink here, then walk into the next bar, and the police just ushered us along and cleared everybody out of our way and just let us do what we want, which was quite good fun. Until we got in the ground, and then that was a different story. And we were just totally surrounded by police people with batons the whole game. We'd hardly see the pitch because they just stood right in front of you the whole 90 minutes. That was a close game over the second leg. It weren't quite as easy. That was end to end. Could have gone either way, to be honest.
Fantastic trip, and we had all manner of problems because we'd gone across in the car, 5 of us in the car on the Tuesday morning we'd travelled on the ferry, driven over to Cologne, and I'm half German, so my family live only about 10-12 miles from Cologne, but I didn't go and see them. They're actually Mönchengladbach fans rather than Cologne fans. But the idea was that we would stay in a youth hostel, but that never really took off. So because we were just in the pub and whatever, you know, and celebrating. Anyway, we went to the game, and the driver, he wanted to stay in the hotel, hotel or youth hostel that night, so that he was fresh for the drive home on a Thursday morning. We just went out partying. We got involved with some guys from I don't know where in a minibus, and ended up at this place called Stotzheim, which is about 20 miles outside of Cologne. They'd hired a house, you know, for the week, and we started celebrating there, which was fine because we had somewhere to stay that night on the Wednesday night, celebrating after the game, you know, and it went all night. But the next morning we wake up and we're in this place 25 miles from Cologne, no way of contacting the driver because there's no mobile phones or anything. So there's no railway station at this place. We had to walk a couple of miles to this nearest village called Euskirk to get a train back to Cologne. When we get back to Cologne mid-afternoon, the driver's gone because he had to leave the youth hostel because it shuts during the day. We didn't know where he was. So it was fine for me and one other guy because we had our passports on us. So we could buy a ticket on the train and get the train to Saarbrücken. But two of the party didn't have their passports. The passports were in the car. So they didn't know what to do. So we phoned the British consulate in Düsseldorf, which is only 25 miles away. And they stayed open, thankfully, because the guy they talked to was a Liverpool fan and he was celebrating because Liverpool, I think, had won in Bayern Munich that night in the European Cup. So he stayed open and issued them with emergency passports so they could get home. And they took a separate train to Saarbrücken, where we'd eventually all meet up. Well, when me and my mate, we got to Saarbrücken, we were walking around the ferry terminal and we walked into the bar and our driver was there waiting for us. So there was a big reunion, which was great for us three. We're in the car in the queue to get onto the ferry. We see two people running around the car park, and it's our other two friends trying to smuggle their way into a car so they could get onto the ferry. But so eventually we had a few beers on the ferry again on the way home that night. But it was a bit of a convoluted journey, shall we say? But it was great, because we're in European final for the first time. It was fantastic.
As soon as we got to Amsterdam, the bus driver said, "Do you want to go to your hotel or straight to the ground?" Yep, straight to the ground. Never saw my hotel the whole time I was there. We stayed up all night and got picked up in the morning. But that was an awful lot of drink again. But yeah, we thought the game was just a matter of a formality, really. And then we went 1-0 up in I think about 10, 15 minutes. I can't remember now. Tyson scored, I believe, early on. And then, mind you, then it all seemed to go horribly wrong. Ipswich seemed to thought, well, we've won this now. And obviously we got themselves in a bit of a muddle to start with. But obviously come through at the end, that's the main thing. And obviously there was an awful lot of Ipswich supporters there that day. That was a real good day.
There was 8,000-9,000 Ipswich fans travelled, so there was a lot of people on the ferries and all various means. And 8,000-9,000 Ipswich fans going abroad at one stage was a mass outing at those days because it wasn't, 20 years ago we took 11,000 to Milan, but there wasn't so many people went abroad to watch the town in those days. So taking 8,000-9,000 was really, really good, And I went across on the ferry on the Tuesday morning, and we were staying in a hotel, and the Hotel Washington, I think, in Amsterdam, and it was run by a couple of Americans. And I remember them telling us as we went out about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock that night to have a few beers, that don't be too late. We don't want to, we don't really look. And I think we ended up getting back about 5:30 in the morning, And so it was. We only got a few hours kicked before the Wednesday before we started again, and it was like I've got some pictures of people, everybody's suffering the hangover on this, about 11, 12 o'clock in the morning, but like the gathering of the clans, and Amsterdam is a really great city anyway, so it was a great place for the final second leg to be held, and it was just a coming together, lots of groups of people having a lot of fun. No trouble, no sign of any trouble whatsoever, And I remember one of my friends was a bit worse for wear when we got to the ground and me having to hold his hand to take him into the ground because he didn't know, he didn't know what was going on. He did, so he didn't remember seeing the game that well.
And at the end, I do remember I was quite near the front of the fence and I just grabbed the fence and I screamed incoherently. Because it was a scream of relief. I mean, I'd seen us knocked out of the FA Cup at Manchester against Man City. I was playing football when we were winning 1-0 at Middlesbrough in the league that year, which is a crucial game. Heard the half-time score, brilliant, we're on track still. In the end, I don't suppose many people remember the name Bosko Jankovic, but he's up there with the worst of them. 2 goals to Middlesbrough. Had nothing to play for. We lost that. The next week, Kenny Sansom got one of his only 3 goals, I think, for Arsenal against us. We'd lost the league, lost the FA Cup, but thank God we won in Amsterdam. One of my mates nearly missed the bus home, but that was a minor irritant, really. And yeah, we were very proud, I think, as much as anything. It was a great night for Ipswich. Similar club, AZ 67. No animosity at all, as I recall, between the fans. I think the Ajax fans caused a bit of aggro, but they weren't AZ fans. I've still got my AZ 67 silk scarf, which I apologise, I should have been wearing. But yeah, it was a big consolation, I think, was the way to look at it, and clearly got our name on the European map.
We were a brilliant side to watch and so entertaining, you know. But we had a small squad. You know, once you got past the first 11 plus Steve McCall and Kevin O'Callaghan, you know, you were stretching it a bit after that, you know, in terms of the quality of the players. 1 or 2 others like Robin Turner and Maurice Sybil, we didn't really play that much, but you know, we would have had a larger squad, then, you know, I think undoubtedly we'd have won the treble. You know, treble or triple, whatever, you know. But it was still, the UEFA Cup was a fantastic experience. It was, you know, it was great taking so many Town fans abroad, you know, to celebrate.